The death toll from the tanker explosion in Taura local government area of Jigawa State has risen to 167. The state governor, Umar Namadi, made this known at the government house in Dutse while receiving his Kano State counterpart, Abba Yusuf, who was on a condolence visit. 67 survivors are currently receiving medical treatment in various hospitals within and outside the state. The tragic event unfolded on Tuesday when a fuel tanker exploded in Majia town. Reports suggest that many of the victims were scooping fuel from the tanker wreckage when the explosion occurred. Meanwhile, a mass burial was held for the initial 147 victims who lost their lives in the aftermath. In the meantime, the Lagos State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, has alerted residents and property owners at the Ogun River banks to be ready to relocate to higher grounds as the Ogun River Basin Development Authority commences staggered release of water from Oya Dam. The commissioner dropped the hint while addressing the media in his office at Alausa Secretariat Ikeja, the state capital. News Center's Bettina Uweli reports.
As a proactive measure against flood in Lagos, residents and, more importantly, those living along Ogun River banks have been urged to relocate to higher grounds as the Ogun River Basin Development Authority, OORBDA, plans to release water from Oyo Dam any moment from now. This comes as the State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, says this appeal becomes necessary, stating that the water release will help to maintain the sanctity of the dam and its socioeconomic implications for Lagos State.
The dam is equipped with 4 radial gates capable of releasing up to 2,271 cubic meters per second during peak periods. However, current releases are measured at 208 cubic meters per second, with only 2 gates open at 12% capacity each, ensuring control and steady discharge.
Floods are not uncommon in northern Nigeria. However, Maiduguri saw its worst flood in 30 years in the month of September after the Alo Dam breached its banks. The heavy surge of water buried half the state capital, damaging buildings and infrastructure. But the unfortunate incident could have been avoided.
Basically, we're talking about saving lives. Saving lives. Even if it's just one life, let alone in the case of these communities, we could be talking of hundreds, maybe even thousands of lives. By 2023, the pollution that we all agreed that we're going to reduce, it had never been so high in the history of humanity. So yes, there's a lot of aberrations. You can call it corruptions, you can call it nonchalance, but the reality is that the decision makers are not appreciating the reality of the situation of making a decision that is not implemented well or not making the right decision at all.
There has to be approaches to waste management, approaches to flood risk mapping, so that and dam management. Now, in dam management, one of the issues we have is in budgeting for dams because they are huge infrastructure. Approaches to constructing roads in such a way that the roads can plug some of the water, when it floods heavily, in ways that it can be channeled back to the Atlantic. In a state like Lagos that is prone to flooding, such approaches can be done.
While the Lagos State government says it fully recognizes the challenges faced by residents of the affected communities, which include Kara, Mile 12, Agility, Ikosiketu, Owode Ajegunle, and Odo Ogun as reported, the commissioner has assured of constant close monitoring of the situation and collaboration with relevant agencies to address humanitarian concerns, particularly for vulnerable groups like women, children, the elderly, and people living with disabilities, among others. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Uweli.
Many thanks, Bettina. Let's head on now to security matters. The federal government has said that the Nigerian military requires more satellites to enhance internal security. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, Ibrahim Kana, made the statement at a stakeholders forum during the Nigerian Satellite Week organized by the Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited in Abuja under the theme Harnessing Communication Satellites for Sustainable Development. Kana highlighted that satellites are crucial for addressing certain military operational challenges, aiding communication and monitoring movement across various areas. The Permanent Secretary noted that the Defense Space Administration has the capability to capture satellite imagery of routes used by troops, enhancing operation and reducing casualties. To discuss this, we're joined by former Director, Department of State Services, Dennis Amakre. Dennis, thank you for giving us your time. Now, according to Dr. Kana, Nigeria's current satellite capabilities are inadequate. Do you agree with the assessment that more is needed? And is there maybe a way to fact-check the Permanent Secretary as to the number of satellites we have and the functionality of the ones that are existing?
Thank you for having me. Yes, I agree with the professor that the inventory we have right now is very inadequate, and we need to improve on it because right now satellite is the major issue now, even in warfare. So you have even the military. Recently, you heard about the Hamas leader being killed yesterday. All that were capabilities that were used by Israel in locating, that particular person. So without satellite, it's like a country is moving blindly. And there are many areas that you can use these satellites, where we have surveillance and monitoring. We have early warning signals. That's for military operations, communications. And then, of course, the beauty of one of the satellites that even the United States have, which is called the keyhole satellite, is very, very important in such a way that it goes all the way down to know, okay, you've heard of the Google Earth satellite, and that will tell you the plate number. It can read the plate number of a car on the streets of Lagos. So, and that tells you which kind of capability you can use that for.
Okay, I think you'll be able to establish the capability and the need for satellite, but there's a part of my question you haven't addressed, and that's the ones that we already have. How effective are they? Are they functional? Are they currently being used as needed to maybe help in addressing some of the internal security challenges?
The ones you have right now are not adequate in the sense that, or they are not designed for internal security measures. We have satellites. You pick up your phone and you talk. Right now, I'm discussing with you through satellite. Right now, I'm in the United States, you are in Nigeria, and we're talking, and those satellites are different, but you want to have military-grade satellites, the ones that, can control drones to pinpoint where an enemy target is, to do what it has to do. So that is the difference of what we have right now.
Okay, is there a cost benefit analysis for investing in more satellites versus allocating resources to other security measures, such as ground-based surveillance, intelligence gathering? You've advocated for that severally on tonight, and maybe community engagement. What is the analysis here?
In matters that concern security, when you do the cost analysis or cost-benefit analysis, you discover that it is always for security, because security is an intangible product that you cannot really put a cost on, because the things that it can do for you are numerous. Like you mentioned, intelligence gathering, it will help us to gather real-time intelligence, and Of course, when you have real-time intelligence, you can do certain things. We've been worried about Boko Haram and their bandits and all the rest. We can pinpoint them. We can see their faces with military-grade satellites, you know, and I think that's the kind of things we need. The money
I'm talking about the Nigerian scenario. Maybe I didn't quite express what I meant. Like the Nigerian scenario for now, do we have the capability to invest in both satellites and doing the other kinds of intelligence gathering that does not require the satellite? Or maybe we know that this can be enhanced by, but I'm asking, for us in Nigeria, the cost effectiveness, would it be better for us to invest on satellites or to do the more community-based engagement and, you know, local intelligence gathering?
Yes, you are going to cut your coat according to your size, so they say, right? But I can tell you that it is very, very important that we, you know, go through technology now, because I think technology is the mainstay of whatever we're doing right now, especially in the security agencies, like the DSS now. You know, you cannot depend only on human intelligence, humans, or, you know, tech-int is number one. Even signal intelligence is number two, because the enemy is not just operating on the surface like everybody else now. And there are certain things they are doing. Warfare, even for the military, is so much important, because these days you don't even see a soldier or, you know, let's go and fight Boko Haram. They are there. You can see them. Let's fire them. No, it does not work that way anymore. We don't have to see them. You know, if we know the location and we know the coordinates, we can send a drone to go there and then do the devastation. So I think that's where we should be going, because that's where the world is going.
Thank you, sir, for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Defense will soon establish a joint military command center in the Northwest, codenamed Operation Fan Yama. The Minister of Defense, Abubakar Badaru, disclosed this as a part of ongoing efforts by the federal government to address the security challenges confronting the region. The minister made this known when he visited the Kaduna State Governor, Senator Ubasani, at the Kashim Ibrahim Government House as part of his working tour of the Northwest Zone. The visit was aimed at finalizing preparations for the official launch of Operation Fan Yama, a joint military theater command established by the Defense Headquarters to tackle insecurity in the zone. Now, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has raised concerns about President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima's simultaneous foreign trips, leaving many domestic issues unresolved. Obi criticized the move as lacking fiscal responsibility and common sense, given the widespread hunger and poverty affecting Nigerians. According to Obi, the president had initially stated he would be away for 14 days, but has now exceeded that period. Obi argued that Tinubu should have returned earlier to address the country's urgent problems instead of delegating the vice president to a 2-day working visit to Sweden. Obi noted that this decision wasted both resources and time, as traveling from Paris to Stockholm would have taken only 2 hours. Let's discuss this. We're joined by global affairs analyst Achike Chude. Achike, does the Nigerian constitution support, thank you for joining us, by the way, does the Nigerian constitution support or contradict claims there is no vacuum, or maybe provide clear guidance on the transfer of power when we have both the president and the vice president out of the country at the same time?
Well, obviously the Constitution is quiet, about this kind of a scenario. The Constitution obviously is expectant that political leadership in the country would be a responsible, leadership, and that the politicians, especially those who are involved in governance at the very highest level, whether governor or the president, would, more or less, remain in the country or within their domain to face the myriads of socioeconomic crisis that is afflicting the country or their states. And so when you have a situation, but again, this is not the first, this has been happening over the years, really, where this issue of junketing, moving from one part of the world to another, especially in the midst of so much suffocating economic contradictions. I mean, it has become it has become the bane of political leadership, really. Yes, the Constitution does not talk about it in specific terms, but the Constitution is expectant that political leadership will be responsible. And so when you have a political leadership that is responsible, that political leadership will obviously be engaged and will have a hands-on, will be involved in the day-to-day running of the country, and not to have a situation where the president takes off, the vice president takes off. Of course, if the president is leaving the country for a couple of days, it is expected that he would transmit power to the vice president, so that there is no vacuum in governance. And then, but a situation where both the president and the vice president leave the country, I think that is really a bridge too far, and that does not speak well of the level of responsibility, of political responsibility of the present political leadership in the country. And I think it is a shame. Again, lastly, you for quite some time now, even when people complain about the overdue the absence of political leadership of the president in the country, the statement, not just under this administration, has always been that the president can govern from everywhere, but not in the midst of the kind of suffocating difficulty and insecurity that you have in the country. You want a president that is on ground.
All right, let's pick up something else that Mr. Peter Obi raised. It brings up a query about the itinerary that the president's media team provided. Is there perhaps something amiss, or is being on leave that is supposed to have expired justifiable reason to delegate the president on a trip when the president is in closer proximity and could have saved this country some avoidable spending, like you rightly mentioned, considering the challenges, the economic challenges the country faces?
Yeah, obviously the point Peter B made, I think, is a valid one. But again, are they thinking in such terms? Are they thinking about the need to save Nigeria from unnecessary expenses? If you look at the lifestyle of the political class in this country, it is clearly in dissonance with what Nigerians are actually, going through. Why would the president, if the president is out of the country, the vice president is supposed to remain in the country? And for both of them to leave the country at the same time simply tells you that I'm not too sure that they are very much engaged with the needs of Nigerians. And then again, the issue of trying to limit, resources, the use of resources in the country. It is not. This has never been the mainstay of the attitude of the political class in the country. You have a political class that has continued to show frivolity when, they are in governance. We have seen that, and that's what Nigerians have been complaining about for a very long time. The cost of governance has been astronomical, and then there's nothing on ground to show that the political class has learned a lesson about the need to operate within a budget.
Okay, quickly, in the time that we have left, analysts like yourself have suggested that, there is already shaky confidence on the governance ability of this present administration. What would you say are the potential consequences of the president's continued, should I say, delayed return on the from the people?
Yes, I think one of the news items just now, even as this segment progressed, you were talking about a new study, statistic that had come out that 129 million Nigerians are living in poverty. And not too long ago, I think about a week ago now, I think the World Bank or the IMF was warning about the potential for social instability and unrest if the present parallel state of the economy continues across the continent in certain countries like Nigeria. And so this is a very combustible situation. The hunger in the land, the frustration in the land, the anger in the land are such that anything can happen at any particular point in time.
So it is experience.
Yes. So we hope that the political actors would actually show some level of responsibility and commitment as to the precarious economic situation in the country. Because, like I said, anything is possible at this particular point in time.
Maybe by the time we wake up tomorrow, the president will be back, or who knows what their plans are. Thank you for speaking with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Away from that, the Minister of State for Labour and Productivity, Nkiru Onyegocha, says government is taking steps to correct an age-long error of subsidy payment. The minister, while answering questions from journalists in Abia State on the planned NLC strike, also says government is meeting with the labour leaders to inform them of government's plans and project. News Centre's Chinwe Ugele reports.
There are threats to embark on a fresh industrial action by the Nigerian Labour Congress following the hardship in the country and the Academic Staff Union of Universities over unfulfilled promises by the government. But the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Nkiru Onyegocha, says government is carrying the organized labour along in order to discourage any strike.
We had a meeting with NLC yesterday, and what we call that is interaction, to be able to tell them what the state of the nation, what it is, and exactly what is going on. Because it's not good to leave your organized labor not to know what government is doing. Because government, we are not folding our hands and expect that manna will come from heaven. We are doing everything possible to make sure that these things do not continue to happen.
She tells journalists in her hometown, Amoda Umunochi local government area of Abia State, during her medical outreach, that whatever government is doing now is for the future benefit of everyone in the country.
If you go to school, they will tell you that Nigeria is an oil-producing country and that they depend on oil. But I can tell you, for the past few years, NNPC have not contributed 1 kobo to the budget of Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so, is this supposed to be so? This is a sector that's supposed to feed us, and yet they are not contributing 1 naira.
On the proposed industrial action by ASU, she says the issues are already being taken care of to forestall the plan. The minister also says there's need for the government to make health of its citizens a priority in order to cover the poor.
Basically, that's what it is. I'm doing it because I'm knowledgeable enough to know that health is wealth and that you need to provide support for people who can't really take care of themselves, even if they know that they need to.
The outreach covers different health challenges of her people, who are also grateful for the gesture.
She has problem on the hand, operation of the hand, at the palm here. So I brought her here this early morning so that I can see whether they will remove it. They have done it free of charge.
The outreach is an annual program of Onyegocha that captures the poor in her community. In Umar Central, Chinwe Ugele.
And one of our lead stories tonight, the World Bank has released the Nigerian Development Update report, stating that over 129 million Nigerians are currently trapped in poverty. It released the report in Abuja as headline inflation rises, forcing millions of Nigerians into hunger. According to the global financial body, the over 129 million Nigerians represented a sharp rise from 40.1% in 2018 to 56% in 2024. Since 2018, the share of Nigerians living below the national poverty line is estimated to have risen sharply from 40.1% to 56.0%. According to the report, there was an increase from 115 million in 2023 to 129 million in 2024, which means that 14 million Nigerians have become poorer this year. The Washington-based bank attributed this surge to inflation, poor economic management, and external shocks. In the meantime, the recent commemoration of the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty worldwide holds deep significance for Nigeria, where over 133 million people are multi-dimensionally poor, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The World Bank and UNICEF therefore call on the government to take urgent steps to safeguard the vulnerable, particularly the children, while tackling the root causes of poverty in the country. News Centre's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
In Nigeria, many people are living in extreme poverty, many of whom work in the informal economy, unregistered, unrecognized, and unprotected under labor legislation, facing difficult and dangerous conditions. Despite working long hours, they are unable to earn enough to support themselves and their families, especially as the recent hike in the pump price of petrol and the prevailing food supply challenges have only worsened the situation.
My husband's salary is collecting 65,000. So imagine 65,000 cannot buy a bag of rice. And we have 4 children that are in school. We can't even pay their school fees. Life in Nigeria is terrible.
You will not believe it that I parked my car around Towing Street. And I had to trek down to Alausa, and I will have to trek back. I can't afford to bring the car here and drive the car back there. That's how it has affected me.
My children they are not going to school anymore because I don't have money to afford their school fees. Even the one in university drop out. I asked because I don't have money.
Economists, however, warn that the number of Nigerians below the poverty line may soon exceed the 104 million projected by the World Bank, leaving about 40.7 Nigerians living below the international poverty line by the end of 2024. Of the 104 million Nigerians living in poor conditions, about 40 million children are affected by severe hunger, hence the call on the government to take urgent action to protect the future generation.
Today's fiscal, monetary, and exchange rate reforms are hurting everyone, especially ordinary Nigerians who are struggling with the high prices of food and transport. The government must do everything in its power to protect the most vulnerable citizens against hardships, because their lives and the lives of Nigeria's 110 million children depend on it.
Is an economically rational decision. It's not a cherry on the cake. It is an essential part of the recipe of economic transformation to make sure that children are healthy, that they're educated, that they are equipped, but also, and this is an important part for the future of Nigeria with a very young population, that they're skilled with the green and digital skills that will actually land them a job.
While the government agreed that the people are going through hardship as a result of its economic reforms, the country's Minister of Finance and Economy assured Nigerians of plans to make food available and accessible for all its citizens.
To ensure that what remains of the wet season harvest with climate change, the wet season has sort of moved slightly, as well as the dry season harvest is successful, does produce bountiful food, which will reduce the cost of food and make it more available and affordable and bring down the rate of inflation.
Nigeria's development ambition to end poverty by 2030 is navigated in the context of sluggish growth, low human capital, labor market weaknesses, among others. Achieving the ambitious target to lift all of its people out of poverty in the next 6 years is what critical stakeholders say is not realistic. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
The African Development Bank will establish the Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank for Nigeria as part of its commitment to supporting young people. AfDB President Akinwumi Adesina announced this in Abuja while delivering a keynote address at the 90th birthday lecture of former head of state Yakubu Gowon. Adesina stated that the initiative underscores AfDB's determination to support youths, whom he considers crucial to the country's development. He added that the bank will provide both technical and other forms of support to young entrepreneurs. Describing the initiative as a new day for Nigeria, Adesina also cautioned against the rising trend of migration, locally referred to as Japa.
Many people may think that getting Nigerians out of here, I'm not against immigration. Don't get me wrong. But I don't believe that the future of Nigerians' youth or that of Africa's youth lies in Europe, America, China, or anywhere else. It lies in a Nigeria growing very well with equitable growth and Africa doing the same, able to create quality jobs for its own young people. And there is no doubt in my mind that we can do that. A global Nigeria will turn Japa, we are living, into Japada, we are back. To get there, I have some good news. I'm delighted to announce here today that just 3 days ago, the African Development Bank's Board of Directors approved $100 million for the establishment of the Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank for Nigeria. This new bank will support the businesses of the youth in Nigeria, using technical assistance, business incubation, and invest equity, quasi-equity, and debt in these businesses, as well as deploy guarantee instruments to de-risk the lending to all this by all financial institutions in Nigeria. It will be a new day and a new dawn for Nigeria, and I want to congratulate the President and the team for that.
Ghana's parliament has tipped in favor of the main opposition party by 1 seat following the defection of 4 MPs less than 2 months before the general elections. Four lawmakers, 2 from the ruling New Patriotic Party, 1 from the main opposition National Democratic Congress, and 1 independent, have announced they will contest the December 7 legislative elections under new affiliations. However, the Ghanaian constitution prohibits MPs from defection from the party for which they were elected to stand again for another party or as independent candidates. Parliamentary Speaker Alban Bagbin declared that 4 seats were now vacant, giving the NDC a slight majority. Let's head over now to our business desk for today's business updates.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission has reaffirmed its dedication to transforming itself into a customer-focused organization aimed at supporting both national and international businesses. The pledge was made at the 2024 Management Retreat in Jos Plateau State by the Registrar General and CEO Hussaini Magaji. He emphasized the need for a complete overhaul of the CAC's organizational structure. Magaji outlined plans to develop a more flexible and dynamic framework that better serves business needs. He adds that the Commission statement highlighted its goal of becoming a global and customer-centric registry, reflecting its commitment to enhancing service delivery and meeting international standards in corporate regulation and compliance. Meanwhile, a Nigerian court has postponed the trial of Tigran Gambarian, a U.S. citizen and Binance head of financial crime compliance, after he was unable to appear due to illness. Gambarian, who has been detained in Nigeria since February, faces charges of laundering over $35 million. Allegations both he and Binance deny. The Federal High Court in Abuja, led by Judge Emeka Mbite, adjourned the trial until October 25 to allow Gambarian to seek medical attention. In addition to the money laundering case, Binance is also facing separate tax evasion charges, which the company similarly denies. Binance halted Naira transactions following a nationwide crackdown on crypto exchanges, which authorities claim were contributing to black market currency trading. To Southern Africa now, Sasol, the South African fuel and chemical giant, is under increasing scrutiny due to concerns over its declining gas reserves and exposure to volatile oil prices, raising questions about the sustainability of its business model. Known for its coal-based synthetic fuel production at its Secunda operations, infamously the world's largest single-point greenhouse gas emitter, Sasol aims to reduce emissions by 30% by the year 2030. This target relies heavily on transitioning from coal to gas, but the company's gas fields in Mozambique are dwindling. Researchers from the Trade and Industrial Policy Strategies have expressed concerns, stating that Sasol may lack the capacity to undertake the significant transformations needed to align its operations with a low-carbon future.
To force the ball over the line. The Flying Eagles will have a chance to redeem themselves when they face Cote d'Ivoire on Thursday, the 24th of October. Real Madrid's coach Carlo Ancelotti says Kylian Mbappe seems unaffected after Swedish media reported he's been investigated for an alleged rape during a visit to Stockholm. Mbappe's lawyer said the France captain was shocked to see his name linked to the investigation and he will take action for libel. The forward was not selected by France for the UEFA Nations League matches after an injury and visited the Swedish capital with a group of people last week. Ancelotti defended his players' right to travel on his time off. Mbappe trained with Real Madrid this week before the Spanish league resumes when they play Celta Vigo.
Que en este momento son especulaciones. Yo veo el jugador todos los días, trabaja muy bien, está feliz, está contento y no lo veo afectado para nada. Con mucha ilusión de aportar al equipo. Yo lo veo cerca del 100%. Está muy bien. Es un placer verlo entrenarse.
The crisis hit Spanish Football Federation on Friday, called an election for December 16 to decide its new president. Former President Luis Rubiales stepped down in September 2023, and his successor, Pedro Rocha, was suspended in July by Spain's top sports court. According to the approved electoral calendar, the elections will be for the presidency and 142 members of the new General Assembly, and also for the Federation's Delegate Commission, all for the period covering 2024 to 2028. Spain are due to host the 2030 World Cup along with Portugal and Morocco, with Spanish reports suggesting football governing bodies FIFA and UEFA warned Spain earlier in October to elect a president or risk losing the right to host the tournament. Spanish tennis star Carlos Alcaraz has described his exhibition match win over Rafael Nadal as a little bit sad, knowing that the tennis great is gradually nearing the end of his playing career. Nadal, on the other hand, admitted his fitness level was well off the tour's top players after falling in straight sets. The 38-year-old Nadal, who announced last week he would retire from tennis after the Davis Cup finals in Malaga, Spain in November, lost 6-3, 6-3 to 21-year-old Alcaraz in the semi-finals of the Six Kings Slam event in Saudi Arabia. Alcaraz said it was a sad moment for him, knowing that it will be the last event he will play against the retiring legend. And that's it on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoko.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Let's now bring you some entertainment stories.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
On entertainment news, R.S. Star, the Grammy-nominated Nigerian artist, is set to perform a special YouTube live concert from Nairobi, Kenya, to celebrate the release of her sophomore album, The Year I Turned 21. The event, produced in partnership with Raha Fest, will feature new tracks from the album as well as fans' favorite. The concert will be streamed globally on her YouTube channel, allowing fans worldwide to join the experience. Fans, known as Mob Stars, can also participate in the Woman Commando YouTube Shorts Challenge, engaging with R.S. Star by creating their own interpretation of the hit single. Nairobi, chosen for its vibrant music scene, and R.S. Star's strong fan base in East Africa, will serve as the backdrop for this performance. The concert will be live-streamed on October 20th, 2024 at 9 p.m. East African time on R.S. Star's official YouTube channel. Sir Elton John made a surprise return to stage over a year after his farewell tour, joining Dua Lipa for a duet at London's Royal Albert Hall. The two performed their hit Cold Heart, blending 4 of Elton John's classic songs. Elton John, dressed in a burgundy suit, impressed the audience with his vocals despite recovering from an eye infection. This was only their second live performance of the track, following their 2022 duet at Elton John's final US concert. The performance was part of Dua Lipa's one-off concerts, which featured hits from her latest album Radical Optimism, backed by a 53-piece orchestra and a 14-member choir. The event also included her first live performance of Dance the Night from the Barbie movie and a possible hint of a future Bond theme with a cover of Cleo Soul's Sunshine. The concert, her only UK show in 2024, besides Glastonbury, highlighted Dua Lipa's powerful live vocals and will be part of her upcoming Radical Optimism World Tour. That's all on Entertainment Tonight. Moving away from entertainment, let's take a look at what's trending as the hashtag Nigerian police takes center stage, because the Nigerian police have dismissed 3 officers whose misconduct and corrupt actions resulted in the death of a student, Kuyum Abduyakin Ishola, at Kwara State Polytechnic, Ilorin, and they have been charged to court. A lot of Nigerians took to social media to express their concerns. Let's take a look at some tweets. At Ikezota, lack of proper policing orientation always leads to this. How can they bring him back to life? Now just discharging them and the boy is gone. After court ruling, you still see this fellow out in no distant time. At Otekerio Ogenero, this is a good news, but they should be jailed for gross misconduct. At Kelly Omoro 41965, Nigerian police will never learn. If you like, dismiss every week. They wouldn't stop. Uyo, Ilorin, PH, Enugu, Calabar, Udu Road, to name a few, and the entire mainland. At District 01, if justice can continue to be served and entrenched in the country, I think we can start something tangible from here. That's all on what's trending.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Death toll from Jigawa tanker explosion has risen to 167. World Bank has said 129 million Nigerians are living in poverty. AfDB is set to establish $100 million investment bank for Nigerian youths. And we also brought you news that Ghana opposition has become new majority in parliament ahead of elections. You can catch up on all the latest stories by watching News Central TV live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, on Albo TV and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind company. Have a good night.